You, with the vape. It's time to quit nicotine. I can tell you how I did it, and hopefully I can help you do it as well. Alright, hello ladies and gents. Welcome to another motovlog. Today I want to talk about how I quit nicotine. Now I've hopefully put it behind me forever, in hopes of maybe helping people that are thinking about doing it, because it's definitely worthwhile. You go in, it's definitely one of those things that should be temporary. You should be putting it behind you as soon as possible. First things first, let's talk about why you should stop. So regardless of what you're on, whether it's vapes, cigarettes, snus, nic pouches, lozenges, patches, gum, whatever it is, nicotine is kind of a scam. When you're addicted to nicotine, when you have that first cigarette of the day or whatever, you have your first hit of the vape in the morning and you feel that uplifting feeling, that is your dopamine levels rising. It feels like you've been restored, like you're ready to take on the day. But the reason why it's a scam, in my opinion anyway, from my understanding of it, and it's a good way to perceive it if you want to stop, is that feeling of you feeling uplifted and like calmed down or whatever. Everyone feels slightly different things, but it's the effect of the dopamine being increased. What's actually happening there is your dopamine levels are returning to that of a normal person. So you may think that it's like really cheering you up, calming you down, making you feel great, but it's not. It's just making you feel how a normal person feels. And the cycle we end up stuck in when we're addicted to nicotine is just chasing that feeling. As nicotine slowly leaves our system, say it's been a few hours, you start to feel that lull. You don't feel any better until you've had your next fix. And like I said, it's not making you feel great, it's making you feel like a normal person. So let's talk about some reasons why you should stop. One, it's a waste of money. It doesn't really matter how you slice it. It doesn't really matter how much money you've got. I would argue that for almost everyone, that money is better spent on something else, doing something else, whatever. It's probably a waste of time as well, especially if it's cigarettes. If you're going out for, you know, like smoke breaks and stuff, it's going to be quite a lot of time that you're spending doing it. For me as well, what was important is that I thought it made me kind of a bad role model, sucking on a vape all the time. I don't want kids seeing me do that. I don't want my family seeing me doing that. I just think it's kind of embarrassing now. It's a really cruel mistress, nicotine. A little bit of context on me, so I started smoking pretty young, in my sort of early teenage years. Smoked as I came of age, and then when I was like 18 I decided to try and quit, and then I made the switch to vapes, and I was quite successful in getting off of cigarettes. Vapes definitely did it. I think this is true for a lot of people who vape. So I think my nicotine dependency just went absolutely through the roof. Because the thing is with vaping is like, you can do it a lot more than you can smoke generally, so I think your tolerance for nicotine just becomes insane and you end up vaping all the time. So eventually I had a couple of relapses back to cigarettes, but I eventually ended up on lozenges. And then last year me and my partner decided that it was time. Hello mate. Is that MT07? Sounds cool. Yeah, so I've been off nicotine for about a year now, and I feel like I've got a tiny bit of wisdom to bestow on how to kick the damn thing, because it is hard work. In terms of like the shitty things and the reasons why you should quit, is that it is kind of restrictive. If you've got a dependency on cigarettes or your vape or whatever it may be, it might stop you doing stuff, and that is a bummer. You know, you don't want to be held back. We've got enough things holding us back in this life. We don't need friggin' an additional vice causing a pain in the ass. And psychologically, I just don't think it's a great idea to have vices. I think the more independent and free you can be from things, the better. What I think should be step one of getting off the nic is, if you're currently on something that you inhale, like vapes or cigarettes, it's time to make the switch to something else, because I do think they're the most destructive. Yeah, so go to a nicotine replacement therapy, I think they call them. That can either be like patches, gum, lozenges, nicotine pouches, anything like that. Make the switch from the vapes or the cigarettes to that. That's what I did. I went from cigarettes to vapes, to then lozenges. And I quite like the lozenges. I used to just get them from Tesco. Not crazy money, cheaper than vaping. Get them in different strengths as well. I would say you also need a reason to stop. You need something that's motivating you. There's a few obvious ones. Obviously it's going to save you some money. Get something to measure it as well. There's lots of sobriety apps and stuff, and you can add nicotine as one of the things you quit on them, which is what I've done. So I can see how long I've been without nicotine, and I can also see how much money I've saved. So say you're on the vapes and now you're following my advice and you're now on like lozenges or something. Be wary of how much you're consuming. Just because it's not a vape and it's not cigarettes doesn't mean you can just pop them down your throat willy-nilly, because what that is going to do is going to keep your nicotine dependency really high, which is a problem because that makes it harder to quit. In the first couple of weeks of quitting, you know, be kind to yourself, just lean on it a bit. You're probably going to have consumed loads of what it is you're using to replace the vapes. It's probably going to be the vapes, and everyone's on the vapes now. So just be prepared that eventually you are going to have to wean yourself off it. I was on the lozenges, but I was on them all the time, so I wasn't really saving any money by not vaping. Just something to be mindful of. But when you're going to do it, define a date of when you're going to do it. I think this is helpful. To say, this is a month that I'm going to do it, so you can kind of mentally prepare yourself, because you're going to be irritable. It makes you an arsehole, honestly, quitting nicotine. I was super irritable, I had no patience, everything annoyed me, and I think that's kind of a common theme for people. So accept that, be ready for it, and plan for it accordingly. And during that time, be kind to yourself. You might be a little bit loose in other areas of your life while you're quitting nicotine. Like for me, I was like eating a lot of shit to make up for the fact that I had no nicotine. That's kind of a common one. May need another vice or something to lean on while you're weaning off. So get ready for that. Be kind to yourself in the process. It's tough, but you can do it. The first like 2 or 3 weeks are undoubtedly the worst. You're going to be super irritable, lacking patience, and just low-key grumpy for a while. But know that grumpiness is going to pass. It's not going to be with you forever. Warn those close to you, warn your partner that you're probably going to be a grump and you may need a little bit of extra space. But I'm rooting for you. You got it. And life is better once you've put it behind you. If there's anyone watching this that's managed to quit nicotine successfully, drop your experience down in the comments below. Let's try and get some support going for people that are thinking about it. If you quit vaping or smoking though, your fitness is probably going to get better because you're not pumping your lungs full of shit every day. It brings me to another thought as well, actually. Don't downplay it. Vaping, we don't know the long-term effects of vaping. Assuming that it's perfectly fine and a good idea to do is kind of naive. You are better off without it, I promise you that. And you deserve better from your life. Go spend the money on something else anyway. Buy a motorbike, go on a holiday. You know, the price creeps up, man. I got on the like Elf Bars and Lost Marys for a while. I was buying one of those like every day. People were spending some obscene amounts of money, and you don't really notice that you're doing it because you're addicted. You lack logic in those instances. It's not a personal thing. Don't beat yourself up about it. Like, if you end up caught up with nicotine, it's not because you're stupid or anything like that. For me, I think it was probably because my parents smoked when I was younger, and also I was just a dumbass teenager that tried cigarettes. Seemed like a good idea at the time. It was dumb. It's a completely different generation now. Like teenagers starting out on vapes and then moving to cigarettes. If you do that, you're a dummy. Don't do that. The whole point in vapes in the early days was to get you off the cigarettes. Now there's a whole generation of people that never smoked and went straight to vapes. I find that kind of crazy, but also not surprising because vapes are better than smoking in my opinion. They taste better. They're really accessible. There's a million different kinds you can get, so it's like exciting because there's those different ones you can try. I think it's quite a good idea to tell people that you're going to do it as well. If you could have some solidarity, that's even better too. If you can find a friend that also does it, to stop with them. Did just clean my bike. Flying along. Oh yes, I love little lanes, man. Ooh, where shall I go? Wow, you don't want to fall off the road there, do you? Let's go. Nice thatched roof. I always find little cottages like that are pretty quintessentially British, aren't they? Thank you for tuning in, guys. If you're trying to quit nicotine, I bid you good luck. You can do it. Honestly, just get past those first couple of weeks and it's kind of plain sailing after that. Just make sure you have a couple of things in place to make it easier for you. If you want to watch more motovlogs, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.